to this very joyful event, the launch of the Empower Youth4Food campaign. It's great having you all here. We would like to know first a bit more about you as an audience, because regretfully we cannot be together with you at the same location. Advantage is also that we can much better connect. So if you can all go to the www.menti.com if you didn't do it already, and then above this slide that you can see, you can find a code. Please register this code and then enter the Mentimeter, and then we would like you to answer in which country you are located.
And I think you can find the Mentimeter link also in the chat.
Let's give it a little bit more time just to see. Really nice to see that we really have a good representation of people from different countries. I see, of course, Indonesia and the Netherlands, but also Philippines, Cambodia, Vietnam, Bangladesh. Great having you all here. Malaysia, Singapore, welcome you to this event. Great that you could join us. Thank you so much. And then I would like to go to the second question. Can you go to the second question, please? What type of organization do you represent? Well, that's great to see also that we have the diversity of actors that are so important for stimulating and making creating like a success for these type of initiatives. Having people from the private sector, having people from the schooling or the education sector, having people from the INGO sector, governments. Of course, I'm very curious what's under other, but regretfully we're not able to see that. I imagine that maybe there are also social entrepreneurs, people from other types of social organizations maybe. Well, but it's good to see also that big representation of participants are from the education system. I expect also that there are a lot of youngsters around us, among us that attend and are curious what this campaign is all about. So let me tell you a little bit more about myself. My name is Michiel Dansen. I'm based in the Netherlands at this moment, and I represent the Netherlands Food Partnership. Can you go to the next slide, please? So the Netherlands Food Partnership aims at creating collaborations between these actors that are also in this event. People from the public sector, the private sector, social organizations or civil society organizations, academics, because all of them, all of you are so relevant in working on improving the food systems and making it more inclusive, making it more sustainable. And what we know by now is that if we want to create like more sustainable food systems, we have to work on many different topics, many different challenges. And that requires this collaboration also, because not one of the actors in society has all the answers to respond to these challenges. If we think about the impact of climate change to food, if we think about the requirements that are needed to bring food from a specific location to interesting market segments, if we think about areas where there's instability because of conflicts, because of all kind of other natural disasters, and how you would have to respond to that. So collaborations for us is key to work on these challenges. And what we aim for is really to create like a collectivity. We call it collective impact. And as such, we want to see how we can really use the strengths of all these different actors to work on sustainable food systems. Can you go to the next sheet? So the Netherlands Food Partnership was created to support these collaborations. And for us, the inclusion of youth is vital to this. Because the youth has the future, of course. We all know that in many countries, the production of food actually is done often by aging groups already, by older generations. And it's very important that youth becomes part also of the food production, the food retailing, the food processing, and helps us also to create like new solutions to some challenges that we encounter in the food system. So youth and young professionals are critical in the transformation of these food systems. And that's why we promote the broad inclusion of youth in food systems, and we want them to contribute to improving, so it becomes like more appealing also to be part of the agri-food sector. That's why we move away from talking about youth, and we want to work towards involving and partnering with youth. And we focus on supporting collaborations that empower young students, agri-professionals, agri-entrepreneurs, and academics. I would like to show a small video of one of the projects we're involved in East Africa, so you get a little bit of a sense of how we try to approach this.
My name is Eric Bosire from Irihab KA. Yeah, this is what we do. We do setup for irrigation systems, shed nets, dam liners, all that. Now, climate change is real. Kenya, of late, the rains have actually really decreased. The few times we receive rain, there's need for farmers to harvest that rain, and then there's need for them to effectively utilize that water. There's no any other way of doing irrigation that can be able to conserve water much better than drip irrigation. This farm actually, the farm looked like this initially. This is how we found this farm.
No
This
way.
is how we found this farm. So we had to sit down come up with strategies, figure out how we're going to prepare this land, how we're going to do the beds, how we're going to lay the drip lines.
How does it make you feel when you see this land that used to look like this land has now transformed?
There's a certain satisfaction that comes when you see a transformed land. It really gives me a lot of hope. We as Africans, we as a continent, we're able to be a food secure continent if we're able to just work on very basic things like getting to understand what drip irrigation system is, getting goodwill from the government and all that. So it really gives me really hope that we can achieve a zero hunger mark.
This is so beautiful.
Thank you. Can you go to the next sheet, please?
My name is Ed.
This is just one of the examples we're involved in. This is one of the participants in our youth and ecology and business learning track in Africa, which we develop in 6 countries in East Africa. But it's not only about knowing how to produce or how to trade food. It's also about having youth at the table at important international conferences, so they can influence policy, so they can think together with other actors about changes that can be made. They can make suggestions about how to use technology in a different way, how to transform things. They have a fresh eye on things instead of just thinking like, yeah, we did this already in the past, but that doesn't work. So for that reason, we are also working together now with a number of organizations to engage youth more in the upcoming United Nations Food System Summit in September. And we're trying to create like a platform of platforms, so different youth platforms can better connect to each other. We also work together at this moment with the Eindhoven Design Academy, and more than 80 students work together with architects from the OMA company of Rem Koolhaas, the famous architect, and also together with us and actors from the Dutch food system to develop like new designs for sustainable food systems. We have also World Food Day on 16th of October, where we will engage this year even more youth in the situation. And also we are involving, of course, youth in agri-value chain in Southeast Asia. So that's why we're also proudly connecting and engaging in this great launch of empowering youth for the food system in Southeast Asia. I welcome you all, and I give the word to Priska.
Yes, thank you, Matilda, for the introduction. Hi, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Priska Prasetya. It is a pleasure to be here with all of you. I'm currently working at Wageningen University and Research here in Netherlands as the business developer for a database platform called Global Youth Gap Atlas. And I'm really happy to have the opportunity to join and moderate this event together with Matilda with the support of the Innofic team. So personally, I am very excited about this Empower Youth4Food campaign. I am originally from Indonesia. My family comes from the finance background, and I also did my bachelor in business. Generally, at least earlier, it is expected that you would also continue with master related to banking or finance. But however, I have always had the interest in science, so I also ended up pursuing my master in environmental management here at Wageningen University and Research. And throughout these past 10 years, I have found myself to always be attracted to projects related to agriculture. And now with with Wageningen University and Research, together with other 6,000 colleagues, we are continuously working to generate knowledge and also innovation in the field of agriculture, food, and life science. And I can say with excitement that agriculture, it is a sector that comes with a lot of scope of innovation. So I could share a few examples. Digitalization in agriculture is a growing topic. So with my current role, we are working on this global database platform that contains yield gap and yield potential data, and that is to support decision-making by public or private sector. For example, we can use the data to help answering questions such as what regions in Southeast Asia where an investment or a product could achieve the highest return or impact. So this platform has covered around 70 countries globally until now, and it is still growing. So this is one example. Second example, in relation to the corona pandemic that we are in, WUR has also started an initiative called Global One Health that looks into the pandemic prevention, prediction, and preparedness by looking into the relationship between the health of people, animals, plants, and the environment. So the possibilities could include, could we use artificial intelligence-driven technology to ensure hygiene and safety standards in farm production? Or how could the data on livestock farming management be linked with early detection of diseases in animals? So as you can see, the agriculture, it is not an old-fashioned sector. It also actually offers many attractive future opportunities. And I believe this campaign has the right goal to motivate the young people, including me, towards agriculture. And I really hope that this campaign will get you excited about the field of agriculture as I am, or even more. What about you, Marcelo? What excites you about this campaign?
What excites me is like, well, first of all, that it's of course in Southeast Asia, where this is very important to work on. Also the collaboration with NUFIC, East West Seed, Cordate, Agriterra, Wageningen University helps us really to aspire the increase of awareness among youth for opportunities in the agro-value chain. And we really look forward to engaging like the educational sector and people from the private sector to work on this. This change-making challenge is one of the first steps we are taking in these initiatives, and we are very proud that we're part of this kickoff.
Yes, thanks. And then we have indeed prepared also an interesting program for all of you today. We have keynote speeches from the government officials of, from Indonesia and Netherlands. We will be also launching the Changemaker Challenge today. And we are very excited to share also more information about this. So please stay tuned to also learn more about the challenge and how you could participate and benefit from the challenge. We will also later have a panel discussion filled with professionals and practitioners from the agriculture sector, from Indonesia, Netherlands, Bangladesh, and Philippines, who will be also sharing their thoughts on the engagement of youth in agriculture and food systems. So yeah, please stick around. As the next program, so we have a keynote speech from Professor Dr. Dedi Nursyamsi from DG Agency for Agriculture Extension and Human Resources Development of the Indonesian Ministry of Agriculture. He has some wise words to also introduce us to the topic about the engagement of youth in the agriculture. So please, Pak Dedi, the floor is yours.
Terima kasih, Priska. Her Excellency Carola Schouten, Dutch Minister of Agriculture, Nature and Food Quality, esteemed speakers, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, allow me to present our view regarding the development of millennials agriculture entrepreneurs in Indonesia, and also the main programs of Indonesian Ministry of Agriculture in building the capacity of millennials. As we can see in the slide that President Joko Widodo clearly stated that improving the quality of human resources in Indonesia is very important. There is a need to build agile human resources to support the development of Indonesia. In agriculture, human resource has played a significant role. The quality and quantity of human resources working in the agricultural sector in general has been shaping the development of agriculture in Indonesia. Indonesian Minister of Agriculture, Syahrul Yassin Limpo, stated that to be able to attain advanced independence and modern agriculture, we rely on our future young generation. Therefore, there is a need to create 2.5 million millennial farmers in 2024. These millennials who are equipped with sufficient knowledge, science, and technology will be able to address various issues faced by stakeholders in agriculture. Ladies and gentlemen, in the next slide, we can see that there are several challenges faced by agriculture in Indonesia, such as the low interest of youth in the agricultural sector, in employment and entrepreneurship, both on farm and off farm, as well as the decreased number of farmers each year by 500,000 farmers. Meanwhile, looking at opportunities, there are more than 70% of Indonesian population are in the productive age. This productive group of age could provide opportunities in developing agriculture in Indonesia, especially youth. The role of youth is to substitute aging farmers because we believe that they are more competitive, more responsive to technology, more adaptive and creative. Ladies and gentlemen, moving to the next slide, we would like to inform you that under the Ministry of Agriculture, Indonesian Agency for Agricultural Extension and Human Resource Development, IEEHRD, has 3 pillars to support the development of millennials entrepreneurs and main program of the ministry. There are extension, education, and training, which comprise of 3 main programs. First, movement of the strategic command for agriculture development in sub-district level. We call it Ko-Stratani. Second, extension, education, and vocational training to support the growth of millennial agriculture entrepreneurs. Third, extension, education, and training to support the main program of the Ministry of Agriculture. In the next figure, we can see the Ministry of Agriculture initiative, particularly under IEEHRD, which is focusing on 3 main programs, namely Agriculture Development Strategic Command, Millennial Agricultural Program, and support for main program of the ministry. In the next slide, the IEEHRD are concentrating to equip millennials to become professional, competitive, and entrepreneurs millennials. There are 8 millennial farmer programs, namely vocational education, vocational training, farmer agriculture rural training center, Japanese apprenticeship program, young agricultural entrepreneur development, youth entrepreneurship and employment support services program, agriculture development strategy command, Ko-Stratani, and millennial agripreneur ambassadors. Looking at the next slide, we would like to inform you that under the IEEHRD, we have the Indonesian Center for Agricultural Education. Through its vision and mission, we are committed to achieve our 2 main goals, which are, first, to create young agriculture entrepreneurs, particularly in the rural areas. This entrepreneur will be able to create jobs and empower local people to run their business. We hope that the presence of young agriculture entrepreneurs in the rural areas could foster the economic development, which will be beneficial for all stakeholders. Second, to create skilled labor in the field of agriculture that is fit with the industry's requirement. Some industries have become our partner in managing the alumni. Some of them has established good network to recruit the alumni to become their staff in the company. As we can see in this slide, the Indonesian Center for Agriculture Education has 7 polytechnics and 3 vocational schools located across Indonesia. Each of these polytechnics has its specialization. For example, Agriculture Development Polytechnic of Medan, South Sumatra, a School of Coffee. Agriculture Development Polytechnic of Goa, South Sulawesi, and Manokwari, Papua, a School of Cacao Technologies, and PEPI, a School for Agricultural Engineering Manager. In the next slide, we would like to highlight that agriculture in Indonesia has been experiencing transformation from traditional to modern agriculture. Therefore, agricultural vocational education has been implementing modern farming by using massive agricultural machinery, information technology, and digital platform across agriculture management. In this regard, millennials need to be facilitated in the mastering the space of technology. For example, as we can see in the next figure, in Agriculture Development Polytechnic of Bogor, West Java, there are smart greenhouses to produce high-quality vegetables, and most of the students has been practicing to use agricultural machines such as rice transplanters. The utilization of modern technology in farming will improve productivity and production. Ladies and gentlemen, in the next slide, we can see that the Ministry of Agriculture also committed to provide capacity building for millennials through agricultural trainings. From this figure, we can see that vocational trainings and certification are implemented to develop millennials agripreneurs. As we can see in the next slide, Prof of agriculture training to improve millennial skills is Farmer Agricultural Rural Training Center FARS or P4S. FARKICI as a driving force for millennial agriculture entrepreneurs by delivering technical and business training, and also as a place to develop agricultural entrepreneurs. Moving on the next slide is the recent activities for millennial, which is the intensive program in Japan. This program is intended to give valuable experiences for Indonesian young entrepreneurs by sending them to Japan to learn directly in the field. They will interact with Japanese farmers and industries, and they will learn about the business process of agriculture as well as practical techniques. From this picture, we can see that PWMP or Young Agriculture Agripreneur Program is one of the efforts of the Ministry of Agriculture to promote the development of young entrepreneurs in agriculture by accelerating the implementation of various activities, such as expand the target scope for developing millennial agriculture entrepreneurs by sourcing college students, graduates, millennial farmers, business incubator, training, facilitation to capital, land, contract farming, and other investment, and mentoring and coaching in the field. Moving on the next slide, we can identify that one of the programs in Ministry of Agriculture focuses on building the capacity of youth in producing food as well as developing their agribusiness is the Youth Entrepreneurship and Employment Support Services Program. Yes, conducted by the Ministry of Agriculture and supported and funded by International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD. As we can see in the next slide, YES has 4 components. First, rural youth transition to work. Second, rural youth entrepreneurship. Third, investing for rural youth. Fourth, enabling environment for rural youth. Looking at this slide, we would like to highlight about Kostratani. Kostratani is our main program to improve agricultural production. It is the center for agriculture development activities at the sub-district level. This is also an effort to optimize the task, function, and role of the Agricultural Extension Office, APP, by utilizing information technology in realizing national food sovereignty.
Pak Dedi, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. Really appreciate the thoughts. Though being conscious of the time, would it be possible if you wrap up your points in the next 30 seconds? Would that be possible?
Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. In the next slide, I would like to highlight that farmers and millennial farmers who are practicing and utilizing agricultural machinery, IT and digital platform are supporting the government to secure food supply during the crisis. There are some of the millennials who are focusing their business in agricultural sectors. As millennial agripreneur ambassador, their role include providing food for many Indonesians as well as generating income and increasing farmers' welfare. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude my presentation, we would like to state that Youth4Food is a necessity and must be done right now. Millennial farmers are essential in agriculture development in Indonesia because they are smart, adaptive to technology, and ready to enter the era of agriculture 4.0. Furthermore, millennial farmers have started to take part in agriculture development from upstream to downstream. Youths are valuable asset for Indonesia to be able to secure agricultural production in the future. That is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pak Dedi, for the inspiring speech and also for sharing the government initiatives about the engagement of youth in agriculture. Next, we have a keynote speech from the Dutch Minister of Agriculture. Bertille, would you like to introduce us to that?
Yes, thank you so much. That was really inspirational. It's great to see how many initiatives there are being developed in Indonesia by the public sector and also by education centers. Thank you so much for that great presentation. Yeah, I would like to introduce now the video message of our Dutch Minister of Agriculture, Nature and Food Quality, Carola Schouten.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the old days it was simple. If your parents were farmers, you were likely to become a farmer too. Nowadays, young people have much more freedom of choice. And that's a good thing. But there's also a downside. In Southeast Asia, as in Europe, fewer and fewer people are going into farming. They are just not familiar with it. But if you ask a young person, do you want a socially relevant job? Do you care about health and about there being sufficient quantities of safe food? Do you care about biodiversity and our climate? Then they are bound to say yes. And that's why we must spread the word. A job into the agri-food sector can be attractive and meaningful. And who better to tell this story than young agri-food professionals from Southeast Asia themselves? Over the past few decades, thousands of them have come to study in the Netherlands. They have graduated in the fields of agriculture, food and the environment. And I am pleased to see that so many of them will play an active role in the Empower Youth4Food campaign, which is being launched today. And of course, I fully support the campaign. And I hope that many young people will discover that the agri-food sector is all about innovation through cooperation. Because designing and developing a sustainable food system means working together. Private sector parties, education and research institutions, government organizations and NGOs. That also means building on our close international relations and promoting our mutual interests. I encourage students to take part in a Changemaker Challenge, which is also being launched today. And I'm sure you're bursting with creative ideas for tackling agriculture and food issues in Southeast Asia. I hope this campaign will go from strength to strength, so that many young people will help build a greener future. Good luck to you all.
Great. Yes. Yeah, Martina? Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed. It is, following up the video by the Dutch minister. Now, I think it's time for the launch of the Changemaker Challenge. I think we have all been very excited about this. So let me first introduce you about what the Changemaker Challenge is all about. So the Changemaker Challenge calls for students to come up with ideas to stimulate innovations for a sustainable agri-food value chain in Southeast Asia. Because we believe students play a front runner role in improving the food security and sustainability in the region. So the winners of this challenge will be awarded with €5,000 each to turn their ideas into reality. And throughout this process, a number of NL alumni will also engage with the participating students by taking inspiration from their educational experience here in Netherlands. And how do they do that? By being a mentor to these participating students. This way, the participating organizations will also get access to the network of talented students and also NL alumni. So we encourage all students in Southeast Asia, including Bangladesh, to also participate in this exciting challenge. And how do you do that? Check out the website, the criteria, and also sign up. The winners will be announced on the International Youth Day on 12th of August. And I think now it's time for the launch. I think we should already
The
start
big moment is there. This is the time of
drum
the
roll.
So we are going to do the final countdown. I say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, it's launched.
So it is launched.
Wow, that's really great, and I love this video also. I mean, it's really inspiring, and really, I'm looking forward to all the results of and the outcome of this interesting challenge. What do you think, Priska?
Yeah, that was very exciting. I think I hope everyone also likes the dancing as well. So, so no, it's very exciting, and yeah, I think we also have a panel discussion coming up, right, Martilla?
That's right. Yes, we're going now to the opening of the panel discussion, and I would like to introduce Emily, who is going to facilitate the panel discussion. And I don't see Emily.
এখানে তরুণ কৃষি উদ্যোক্তা কুব্বাস হোসেন অভি 2004 সালে 2 বিঘা জমি দিয়ে শুরু করে। তবে বিদেশি সবজি আমাদের দেশ থেকে এখনো রপ্তানি শুরু হয়নি, অথচ মানসম্মত উৎপাদন আর প্যাকেজিং করে বিদেশে রপ্তানি করা সম্ভব। দরকার শুধু বিশুদ্ধ আর বিষমুক্ত সবজি উৎপাদন এবং আন্তর্জাতিকভাবে স্বীকৃত বাজার নীতিমালা অনুসরণের ক্ষেত্রে কৃষকের পাশাপাশি সংশ্লিষ্ট সবারই আন্তরিকতা
আমরা একটা উদ্বুদ্ধ হই।
আপনি তো একজন শিক্ষিত তরুণ উদ্যোক্তা, তো তরুণরা বেকার যারা আছে বা যারা অন্য ব্যবসার জন্য মাথা খারাপ করে থাকে, তারা কি কৃষিতে আসতে পারে না?
অবশ্যই আসতে পারে। এবং বর্তমানে যে নর্মাল যেভাবে যে কৃষিটা যেটা হইতেছে এটা তো আছে। এখন যদি মোটামুটি যারা মোটামুটি একটু অর্থবিত্ত ভালো আছে, অনেক আছে, অনেক বা উচ্চবিত্ত আছে, কিন্তু ওরা বেকার। ওরা যদি একটু গ্রিন হাউস, পলি শেড, একটু হাই প্রযুক্তির দিকে একটু নজর দেয়, আমার মনে হয় যে ওরা খুব অল্পতে খুব সাকসেস করতে পারবে।
kemudian saya berkesempatan untuk melanjutkan pendidikan saya ke Sekolah Tinggi Perikanan Jakarta. Hingga suatu saat, saya terlibat dalam proyek yang bernama Baut Project, sebuah perusahaan startup yang berfokus pada pembelajaran blended learning bagi siswa dan profesional di bidang kelautan dan perikanan sebagai anggota tim. Di sana, kami menyusun kursus perikanan seperti kursus budidaya udang dan budidaya rumput laut yang dapat diakses secara online oleh siswa kejuruan serta pekerja profesional dari wilayah Indonesia hingga daerah terpencil yang mendukung koneksi internet. Dengan alasan ini, saya juga dapat menjangkau keluarga dan komunitas saya di desa untuk dapat membantu mereka mendapatkan akses ke pembelajaran online ini, di mana mereka dapat belajar dan memperbarui pengetahuan mereka tentang perikanan.
This is the opening of the seaweed unit and traditional processing lab, which is this place, which we helped to renovate.
We take the seaweed and we wash.
What they are making here is carrageen from seaweed. Carrageen is a component which you can extract from seaweed, which is actually quite interesting internationally in the market nowadays.
Thanks to the project, a new lab for seaweed processing could be opened.
We agreed that some of the funds we have available could be used to invest in such a unit.
Improving education at Jakarta Fishery University also meant bringing it closer to practice.
The industry wants our students can do it their test, so we buy that equipment.
So, new lab equipment was also needed.
Before this project, we didn't have it. The student is very interesting with the new test, with the new equipment. They're very happy.
Just like the new microscopes. Thanks to this project, the Jakarta Fishery University was able to move to the next level and is now ready for the future.
East-West Seed grew from the seed of innovation that continues to flourish until today. We invest heavily on research and development. We strive to understand the needs of the farmers and markets and find ways to create tailor-fit solutions.
I like East-West because it promotes and supports innovation. In fact, I'm working in seed technology, and it's a product of East-West drive for innovation. In seed tech, in my department, so we always aim to innovate, and we always aim to develop protocols or technologies that could help improve our processes and systems.
With the seeds of service, innovation, and passion, we continue to grow and work towards sowing a better future.
Better seeds for better yield.
Oh, that's a great video. I love it because of all these concrete examples of initiatives that are happening already, companies that are developing new ways of producing agro-food and making them also available for the local population. And yeah, it's really very useful to have this video to get like a better impression of what we're trying to aim for with this challenge and with this initiative. We will now go to the panel discussion. We have a very interesting group of panelists with us. The panel will be moderated by Emily Thuy Nguyen of the Huis in Vietnam. And the panelists are Sjoerd Coquet from the Dutch Ministry of Agriculture in the Netherlands, Tisa Aunila Pipitlin from Indonesia, Marian Sajok from East-West Seed Philippines, and Rihanna from Way Foundation Bangladesh. Emily, I would like to give you the space to to start the panel discussion.
Thank you, Matteo, for the introduction, and hello, everyone. Thank you to the Netherlands alumni for organizing this campaign launch and for everyone for tuning in and joining this event online. It's very inspiring to hear the keynote speeches and the videos of the existing innovative agricultural projects in Southeast Asia. So let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Thuy Nguyen, also referred to as Emily by my colleagues. I'm working as Business Development Manager Asia for Royal de Heus. So de Heus is a Dutch company active in animal nutrition in 12 countries to provide nutrition to livestock and aquaculture farmers worldwide. I have been working as project manager for 5 years in different parts of the animal value chain and currently responsible for M&A and strategy in Asia with de Heus. And I'm very excited to participate in this panel discussion. From the sharings earlier of our esteemed speakers, it's clear that the Netherlands and Southeast Asia has very strong bond, not only in agriculture, but also in education. And I remember that after my graduation from Erasmus University, working in agriculture sector has not really been the top of my list, but here I am 7 years later, still very enthusiastic about this sector. Therefore, I'm very keen to hear from our inspiring panelists today why we need to promote youth engagement and employment in agriculture and food system, what challenges are we facing, and how could we present a fresh and attractive image of agriculture to the youth in Southeast Asia. So now I would like to hereby introduce our panelists. Mr. Short Croquet. Short is a senior policy official with over 35 years of experience within agriculture and food security. Developed specialism within sustainable agriculture, evidence-based policymaking, big and open data, research policy, knowledge management, and business intelligence, experience in multi-country collaboration. From 2018, Short is policy coordinator, international agribusiness and food security, covering regional interests in Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Myanmar, Vietnam, Thailand, Australia, and New Zealand at the Ministry of Agriculture, Nature, and Food Quality for the ministries. In addition, his portfolio entails water for food. Welcome, Short. Our next panelist is Dr. Mary-Anne Sayok. Dr. Mary-Anne is the public affairs lead of East-West Seed, a Dutch company engaged in research, development, production, and distribution of vegetable seeds. East-West Seed is a market leader for tropical vegetable seeds in Asia and has a strong knowledge transfer program for smallholder farmers. She is also the president of Philippine Dutch Fellow Network, the Netherlands Alumni Association in the Philippines. Welcome, Dr. Mary-Anne. Our next panelist is Rehanna Noor. She is Norway professional at WAVE Foundation, a dynamic agricultural professional with more than 5 years of experience of working in different research and development organizations with a special focus on climate, smart agriculture, farmers producer organization, agriculture value chain, and ICT 4D. Rehanna took an internship and summer school in molecular breeding at Wageningen University in 2012 to 2013. And last but not least, our final panelist, Tisa Onila. Tisa is a co-founder of Piplutin Coca, an inclusive business, a bean-to-bar chocolate company from Indonesia. She is one of ASEAN Young Business Leaders Initiative members, a program managed by Asia New Zealand Foundation on behalf of the New Zealand's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Tisa took the Law and Economic Master's program at the Utrecht University in 2004. So we have now all the panelists on the screen. A warm welcome to all of you. And before we start the panel discussion, I would just like to kindly remind the audience who are watching that if you have any question, please feel free to put them in the chat box, and we'll have the chance to discuss them with our panelists at the end of the discussion. So let's start the panel discussion. Our first question, why do you think there is a need to promote youth engagement and employment in agriculture and food systems? So it's nice that we have our panelists from different backgrounds. Perhaps we could start with Short. How do you see this from the perspective of the Dutch government?
Yeah, thank you, Emily. Thank you for this question, and thank you for the nice introduction. My minister also already pointed out why it's important to be employed into the food systems. She used the word attractive and meaningful. She pointed out the relation from food systems to, for instance, biodiversity and climate change. For me, they were very important things of life. So being employed within food systems could give you an intrinsic motivation. But besides that, agriculture and food systems isn't dull at all. On the contrary, it's high-tech, it's very dynamic and internationally oriented. Imagine that all the links between the producer and consumer are well organized and work together closely. So when you can look and identify these true values of the sector of food systems, it can give you a better view on your possible career path. But not to forget that agriculture not only needs farmer or scientists, the food systems need a great variety of skills, for instance, for logistic issues, for food processing, technicians, and people who master the newest digital technologies. Food systems have a lot to offer. But last but not least, when the interest in employment in agriculture sectors and food system does not increase, there will soon be a shortage of labor force in these sectors. That not only cause economic damage, but it could also endanger the food security in the Asian area as a whole. Could that be your challenge? Thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Short, for your sharing. I would like to hear from the perspective of corporate and startups. So maybe that's something that Marianne and Tisa could share with us. Marianne, how about you start?
Yeah, thank you, Emily. And first of all, thank you for inviting me to this inspiring event. And thank you for inviting Nursyamsi as a partner of this event. Like what was already mentioned, also by the Dutch Minister of Agriculture, we have aging farmers, not only all over the world, but more so in Southeast Asia. And these farmers have no successors because their children do not want to go into farming. So they end up selling their lands. And this is not a good scenario for agriculture. So we need to encourage the youth not to engage in agriculture and try to erase the perceived unattractiveness of agriculture young people, because agriculture should not only be equated with farming, working under the sun, but also, you know, across the entire value chain, as what Short already mentioned. And the important thing, I think, to attract youth is to make sure that they would earn a decent income from farming, from agriculture. So a high profitability, I think, would encourage them to engage in agriculture. And again, innovations in agriculture and food system are better embraced by the young people, as they are more interested in technology, digital technology, biotech, and nanotechnology. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. I think the sharing of Short and Marianne are both very spot on. Usually agriculture has traditionally been perceived as something that only farmers and scientists are interested in, and that the income you might expect from this sector is rather low and is very labor intensive. But in fact, that is not the full picture. So Tisa, could you share your view on this question?
Yes, as mentioned by Marianne and also by George, and we have aging farmers, and it's a big problem for us. So what we do in our company, Pivotn, as we direct source the cocoa beans from those farmers, we'll try to build awareness on the importance of attracting youth. So encourage them by buying premium price for good quality cocoa beans, by giving them trainings, by giving them the chance to develop if there's a smart ways to do agriculture, so they can be more attractive to this field. As well as we also making videos online. We distribute it in our downstream marketplaces on the young farmers talking about they want to make the cocoa plantations more viable and more to have more innovations to the processing of the cocoa harvesting. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice that you already started with sharing to the youth and find more attractive way to make it more viable, more visible to them, what agriculture means and what the different parts of the value chains include. Rayhana, I think in your country, the Alumni Associations is one of the very strong organizations in Southeast Asia. How do you see this from the Alumni Association perspective?
Yeah, thank you. And thanks to the organization for inviting me in such a time-demanding event. Netherlands Alumni Association of Bangladesh is playing a very vital role when it comes to engaging different stakeholders in the agricultural sector, especially when it's come to the youth engagement in this sector. We have arranged a lot of webinars during this COVID-19 period, and also before the pandemic. We have also arranged different events and trying to put the other stakeholders, the private sector and the government sector and the academicians and the researchers on the same table, so that we can discuss and input and share our views in the policy making process in the national agriculture, and help the government and connect the youth and the other stakeholders and empowering them to establish an inclusive and sustainable agriculture in Bangladesh. And we are also planning to offer the mentoring support to the youth population and engaging our different events with the agriculture university graduates as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Rayhana, for sharing. So now we understand a little bit why we need to promote working in agriculture with the young generation. So my next question is, what are the challenges to overcome when we try to engage young people to consider agriculture a part of their future? What is really stopping them from considering a future in agriculture? And is there any barrier to studying or working in agriculture at the moment? We have mentioned a few in your previous sharing. So compensation package, or let's say a perceived barrier of image that only the farmers and the scientists are in this sector. Is there anything else that you think poses as challenge for the youth to consider working in agriculture? That's a question to all of you. Maybe Disa, would you like to share?
Yeah, sure. So I think the main problem would be lack of motivation and awareness. As in our company, Pivotn Cocoa, we're an inclusive business. So we source the cocoa beans directly from these farmers without middlemen. So the farmers would have a chance to connect with the end consumer. For example, our customer in Japan can exchange letters with our cocoa farmers in Tabanan, Bali, and it's been going on for the last 3 years. And it's proven to have an immediate effect on the farmers, and they got motivated, and since then providing a more consistent, even improved quality. So that the direct sourcing also allows us to make them part of our business. We are creating shared value where the competitiveness of a company and the health of the communities around the source of the cocoa mutually dependent. So we share our marketing strategy with them, what to highlight to a specific product, their product, the cocoa beans, so they can have a better understanding from helicopter view. So it's very important for them. Because usually they just distribute the beans to these producers, but they lose sight of them. So it's very important to connect the dots. And we also provide them with access to smart agriculture, specifically to young farmers to make them interested. And some of them scared of big changes. So some of them prefer small changes, and that's okay too. So as simple as providing like a controlled solar panel and providing them with access to that kind of smart agriculture is very helping too, I think. That's all, Emily.
Thank you, Tisa. You mentioned, the last point you mentioned is interesting, that farmers in general are a little bit scared of big changes. So we need to have proper communication and make the whole value chain visible to them. I think that's something that the youth can play quite an important role in, right? If you are the second generation of a farmer, you can help to show your parents and to help them get more familiar with more modern information.
True, so true.
That's one of the key factors to
and it's true, and also important for the farmers to have understanding from other farmers. So it's very important to have like this like a publicist, but he's a farmer, so he can talk in the same language and the same frequency as those farmers, so it can induce them to make those changes, those important changes.
Very nice, very interesting. Rihanna, what do you think would be are the main challenges to the youth for considering our agriculture as part of their future?
Yeah, in perspective for Bangladesh, I think we have quite a few challenges when it's come to the youth engaging in the entrepreneur in agriculture. For example, accessing the credit. I mean, most of them do not have the sufficient credit to start their business, and they do not know where to go and how to link up this credit systems and start their business.
Rihanna, sorry to interrupt, but it's a bit difficult to listen to you. So maybe could you try to put a speaker a little bit further? Let's try if that works.
Yeah, I was trying to say that accessing credit is a great challenge for the youth entrepreneurs when they decided to come forward and engaging themselves in the agricultural sector. And also the market linkage, because if we cannot introduce this as a profitable business, they will not be motivated to come forward in this sector. So market linkage is also a great challenge. And since in Bangladesh, they don't have any kind of price commission, so when they harvest their product, they cannot be ensured neither by the government or any other contract farming or the other stakeholders to ensure a better price for their products. So I think these are and also there is no crop insurance. So as you know that Bangladesh is a climate vulnerable country, so they have been facing a huge climate change effect. So lacking absence of the agricultural climate insurance, actually the youth entrepreneurs are facing a lot of problem and lose their interest to engage themselves in this sector. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you for sharing. So indeed, agriculture is, if you are in farming, similar to how I see it in the animal industry, for farmers, they suffer, or let's say they are exposed to a lot of risk, climate, disease, a lot of uncertain factors. So if you're a young person, it's not really, you're not really prepared to already undertake that kind of risk very early on in your career. So that's one of the factors that makes it a less attractive industry to work in.
Yeah, right. Agricultural value chain is also has been a challenging factor here. Yeah.
I agree. Marianne, how do you see this from in your country? What are the challenges that are
Yeah. I think the Philippines is, not different, from the other from what Tisa and Rihanna has mentioned. We also encounter the same challenges: lack of access to credit, to finance, but also access to land. This is also a challenge for these young people, and even lack of access to technology, the right training skills for them. But I think one of the challenges that they really face is how to, they should see agriculture as a profitable activity. So if they see from their parents that they are not making any money, then I don't think they would go into agriculture. So we should address not only the needs of the youth, but also of the parents, no? So then, well, they would follow through if they see that their parents are quite successful in the agriculture venture. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a very valid point as well. And how do you see, for example, the barrier to education system? For example, is there sufficient education or programs in agriculture, maybe even in the early on in the education, right? So secondary school, high school, is the younger generation have sufficient access and knowledge being shared with them about agriculture to have that imprinted in them to consider agriculture as part of the future?
Yeah, I think, Emily, that is what is lacking. We need to integrate agriculture in the school curriculum already, both in the primary and secondary education. So this should not only be for agricultural schools, but even for the normal schools. This way, we start them early. We try to sensitize, and make them aware of the importance of agriculture in nation building, in food security. So yes, very important to start early in the education system, and also provide later on. I think Lisa has also mentioned this. The internship, very important too. Provide these students internship in agriculture companies, so they would have a first-hand experience and knowledge on what an agriculture enterprise, or how an agricultural enterprise works.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think for me personally, I started my internship at the host as well. So before that, I have never heard about the company or know what it's like to work in agriculture, but just saying yes to this internship really introduced me to a lot of opportunities, a lot of field trips, visiting farms, visiting and talking to the farmers. So that is really a very nice way to introduce the young people who are still studying into agriculture. I'm curious to hear from Short how this is being organized in the Netherlands in terms of education. How is agriculture being introduced in education or in daily life to make it more attractive to the youth?
Well, first of all, there's a structural collaboration between education and private sector to have youth, give them a good understanding of the several sectors they could be employed. It has a lot of advantages. It helps education institutes to keep up with the latest market trends. And in this way, institutes can adjust their curriculum to include actual issues and enhance knowledge and skills for teachers and students. And education also pay specific attention to entrepreneurial skills and foster internships. In this way, students are better prepared for work after graduation. On the other hand, it gives the private sector access to young, educated and skilled workers who may turn out to be their future employees. So in general, because there are structural relations between education and private companies, including also a governmental and non-for-profit organization, youth are giving the best pictures of future areas they could be employed, including agriculture. I think that will do. Thank you.
Yeah, that is indeed a very good way. I remember at my university every year there's a recruitment day where companies come in, have their stand, and pitch about their companies to the students, and also they have on-campus interviews where they have the chance to meet a lot of potential future employees as well. So it's definitely a very nice way, and I also see that more often at universities in Vietnam as well. So for sure, that's very nice. But if you go to this event, you see that there's a lot of also very attractive companies. So in the finance sector, in consulting, in FMCG, there are a lot of companies who's able to offer very interesting packages, opportunities to learn, a very nice working environment. So why should students choose agriculture, a company in the agri-food sector, over these other attractive offers as well? So in other words, how can we present a fresh, new and inspiring image of what it means to work in the agri-food sector and the important role of this sector to our economy? Lisa, what do you think about this? Or
Yes, so I think first, from my point of view as a company, we need to induce customers to buy local products to grow, so the market could grow, and also the image of new farmers have to be tech savvy to change the image of farmers and to induce young farmers to continue being a farmer after graduating from those college in their regions. For example, we're working with our farmers in Tabanan, Bali, and his bachelor degree was in agriculture, and now he's taking a master degree in food science. And he decided to still be a farmer because he has a good motivation, and of course the company, the cocoa plantation in his area are growing. And so he got the proper motivation to continue the cocoa plantations. So for example, when the King and Queen of the Netherlands came to visit us last year, we invited our cocoa farmers from Tabanan, and they with confidence tell the story about, and they're very happy to and proud to maintaining a fermented cocoa, to be a cocoa farmers. And especially for countries like Indonesia, we need to raise, I think the most important thing is to raise the awareness on the importance of working in agri-food sector and how to make working in agri-food sector cool. So again, it's a long process, and we need a very specific plan to do that. Yeah, thank you, Tiff.
Thank you. That's very concrete examples and advice how we could make this more attractive. Sure, do you want to share something?
No, not really on this question. Thank you. Sorry, Miss.
No worries. How about Rihanna?
Yes, I would like to share my personal experience here because from the very start of my education, I actually admitted in Bangladesh Agriculture University, and from there I got the scholarship and did my bachelor in Germany, and then I did my internship and summer school in Birmingham. So I know the education structure, what is practiced in Bangladesh, and what I have seen in Europe as well. And the scenario still doesn't change, actually, unfortunately. There's a lack of internship, and so the somehow I think that the agriculture education in Bangladesh is based on the theoretical background. I mean, they don't have that much practical sessions to start in. I mean, they don't have that much exposure field visits or working with the real farmers throughout their education system. And also, I think the lack of training and the research scope among the academicians in the agriculture university and also the vocational institute who are offering the agriculture education is also a big concern here in Bangladesh. And as you say that in abroad, we have seen the companies, the private companies come forward in the campus and offer and take the interviews. And throughout the internship, the young graduates has the opportunity to create a good impression in the company, and later on they can join and put it on their CV. But here this is absolutely missing. So I think these are the challenges that are prevailing in the education sector of agriculture in Bangladesh. And throughout the even throughout the massive online course that research institutions are offering, and also synchronizing the private sector and other collaborators of Dutch and even the Southeast Asia in Bangladesh, collaboratively we actually can create a good platform for the young graduates to exchange their views. We can offer the exchange internship abroad as well, not even on the local companies. So that is how I think we can actually solve this problem and encourage the young agriculture students to take education in this sector, and also make them a very potential professional in the future. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Rihanna. I think earlier, Short and Tisa both mentioned that it's very important to show that agriculture is not only the farming activities, but there are a lot more to that, right? So Tisa, you already mentioned that we need to show that it's more tech savvy, that local produce is very, very nice and healthy to have, that also working in agriculture has to be like a cool environment to be in. So how do we promote this? What are the practical ways that we can show this to the young population? How do we show that there's more activities in the value chain, that farming is just a part of it, and there's more coming before, and there's more coming after, and that there's a lot of innovation, a lot of automation, and technologies that's being applied here. How about Marianne? Because East West Seed is a very large company. So what are the practical things that East West Seed has done to make this attractive to the young population?
Yeah, for one, just going back to the previous question, East West Seed offers actually internship to agriculture students, not only from the Philippines, but also from the Netherlands. We and other countries, we receive internship applications every year, and we welcome them to do their internship in the company. Second, we have already done twice a hackathon, inviting young students to come up with ideas on how to solve specific problems of farmers. So the first hackathon was really quite successful. They were able to come up with a digital platform on linking the supply producers with customers, and also now it's ongoing, the Innovation Olympics 2.0, that's what we call, and we have very interesting groups of students who have very bright ideas on how to make agriculture more cool, more savvy, and technology driven. So that's how we do that's what we do in East-West Seed. And just, I think what is important is rebranding agriculture. I think we just need to rebrand agriculture, not only to focus on farming, but also on plant breeding, on food processing, on distribution and consumption. So all across the value chain. Yeah, and I just wanted to share also one of our employees now, the one in the video, he is actually a son of a smallholder farmer, and we thought that he would not pursue agriculture, but we offered East-West Seed offered him a 4-year scholarship to take BS agriculture, and he did in the University of the Philippines. He majored in seed technology and he graduated magna cum laude. He joined East-West Seed and joined our seed technology group, and now he even did his internship, his training in Wageningen, and he is now cascading the learning that he applied. So this his story is quite inspiring, that you could still really encourage these young people to go into agriculture. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. That's a very inspiring example. So I have one final question, and this question is maybe very relevant for Tisa. So Tisa, when we met for the first time to pre-discuss this panel discussion, I was very impressed with your story. That you started as a corporate lawyer, and then you studied law in Utrecht, and then you decided to go back to Indonesia and start your own business in cacao, which is very different from your previous study and experience. So for sure that you have this running in your blood, right? The entrepreneurial mindset. So if young people like you have an interest in being an entrepreneur in agriculture, but like the capacity to start their own business, what would your advice be?
Thank you, Emily. So when I was started, when I was started to interest in chocolate, I was still working in a law firm. So I start small by simply turning my living room into a chocolate room and buying necessary equipments for make it possible. And but consistently every weekend I will try different kind of chocolates. And then from point zero to the establishment of Pipiltin, it will take about 3 years, 3.5 years. So the first year is me making those research and do a lot of trial and error. And then the second year, I take courses in bean-to-bar processing, and then by that time I know that Indonesia is the 3rd largest cocoa bean producer in the world. But we even Indonesians itself rarely know that information. So and then taking a mentorship program and a lot of trainings. And then just before Pipiltin opened, 1 year before, I took a master degree certification at Switzerland for master chocolatier, because I want to make sure that if I heard this from a very good friend, he said that if we want to do good, we have to do it well. It means that we want to do good in terms of sustainability and providing benefit to customers. We have to do it well. We have to sell the products. We have to be able to make profit out of it. Otherwise it won't be sustainable. So it's a very important take from him. So that's why I decided to take a master certification in Switzerland just to make sure that I have the important knowledge to produce a good quality chocolate. So when I'm working with these farmers, I can ensure that we can make the best chocolate that we can make from those cocoa farmers. So that's what I do. So it will take about 3 to 4 years because when Peopleton was established, we was start very small. In our second year, we are adding capacity to an expansion in our second year of our company. So if you want to start the company, we can seek for a mentorship program and taking trainings, and even working in a company that you're interested in. And maybe you can always start small, starting with your own or collecting family funds, or crowdfunding is now very viable. Even government loan is also a possibility. And in the meantime, making a simple but feasible business plan would be nice, yeah. Because again, company is evolving time after time, but we need to know our vision and mission, and we have to know where we are going with our vision and mission. So it's very important to have that in hand first before starting a business.
Thanks, Tisa. It's very useful advice to start. And definitely it will help a lot of young people who have an idea but don't know how to execute it now. So I think after the program today, if there's anyone who is interested in in starting their business, they could also try to ask you to be their mentor, right?
Sure, we'd love to, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for the interesting discussion so far. I already got from the Q&A box, there's quite a lot of questions already. So let us start picking some questions and try to answer them as a whole panel together. So first question is to Short and Marianne. What's the role of government to support young people to re-enter agriculture sector?
If I may, yes. The role of government is big, not to help these youth re-enter the agriculture sector. It's important to give the youth a seat in the table by involving them in policy dialogues and listening to their needs. I think for every committee or council that like say the Ministry of Agriculture creates, membership there should include a youth representative. So that's one, giving them a seat in the table. Second also is mainstreaming the inclusion of youth in programs and projects of the government. We cannot just ignore now the important role of young people in agriculture and food system transformation. And on top of this, even providing capacity building activities for the youth, mentorship programs for the youth, and very important, providing interest-free startup capital. In the Philippines now, the Department of Agriculture has this program for agriculture entrepreneurs where they give a loan, interest-free, so they could start, start with a project that they have actually incubated. So I think it's the role of government is crucial. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. Short, we are you as well.
Yeah, thank you. The situation of a government in the country will slightly differ from each other. So I can also only reflect how it's organized within the Netherlands. And I hope you can imagine that within the Netherlands, organized by societies that organized, that well organized, that the role of the government is focusing on initiating ideas, knowing that the society is that much organized that they can pick it up. So looking at the role of the government, when people would like to re-enter any sector, for instance, they need extra education. We do have some legal facilities from the government perspective to lower the barrier to re-enter a certain sector. But we know that there is a very strong collaboration, what I already mentioned, between private sector and education services, education system. So that organization, that collaboration will surely have much possibilities for people who also would like to re-enter the agriculture sector. So everybody could become a student again on whatever high school or high vocational training, and I think it's about the age of 30. There are facilities to support these people to have some sort of education within agriculture, but it's not comparable to many other countries. So that our role in the Netherlands as a government is merely focusing on initiating, knowing that within the Netherlands is that good organized, that education sector and especially private companies can pick it up themselves. I hope this will do for an answer.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely very nice to hear what the Dutch government is doing. I think the example of cooperation between the private and education sector is very interesting. I have been reached out earlier by a couple of universities to introduce or to help organize guest lectures, or to have people from the host participate in the board in the making of the program, to make sure that their curriculum is still up to date and is relevant for the actual business work, right? So it's very nice to see that example, and there should be more, because it clearly shows that students will not be obsolete by the time they graduate. Thank you for answering, Marianne, in short. The next question for Tisa and for myself. Normally, farmers do not want to use new technology for farming. How can we encourage them for practicing new technology in their field? Tisa, would you like to go first?
Yes, that's why we need millennial farmers, because it's easier to induce farmers, the aging farmers, to change their way of farming, because again, for them, having this specific procedure for farming is quite emotional. So it's quite hard to change the way, the procedure and everything, because they only believe in one way of producing. So it's very important to have young farmers. For example, again, with our farmers in Flores, in Flores Island. So the son of the farmers who can speak to his father to change the way of producing after harvest cocoa. That way, the father would get a better understanding, and again, with the son helping, using the new technology would be so difficult for them. So it's very important to have young farmers.
Yes, I agree very much with that. For me, I have two examples to share, actually. So previously, I tried to work with a lot of farmers, and there's a project that the hosts work together with the Dutch government to help implement new standards in pig farming in Vietnam. So trying to upgrade the standard for smallholders. And the challenge that we face is that the farmers, on one hand, they want to have more recording. They have to control better the type of feed, how much feed, what kind of vaccination, etc. they give to their pigs, but they don't like the paperwork that comes with it, and also they don't like to use computers. It's so much. So first they record everything on paper on farm, and then later on they have to copy these on a computer system in the software. So what we realize is, and we realize how much time is causing the farmer and how much frustration it is when the technology fails. So what we thought is that, okay, everyone now has access to smartphone. So everyone has a smartphone. They might not have computer. So why not create something that is smartphone friendly, that is a bit more simple and easy to use, that they can just like do it on the spot very quickly. So internally, we have been developing the smartphone app that allow farmers to report information conveniently. And that also helps. So making technology more simple would be a way to encourage farmers to use this as well. And the second example is that I was working in Myanmar. I was living there for 1.5 years. And that was in 2016, 2017, where I observed a very important transition there, that everyone started to have access to mobile phone and have 4G network. So fun fact is that Myanmar even has 4G internet before Vietnam. And that's when you really see the boom of Viber, of Facebook. It's very unfortunate, the situation that's happening in Myanmar at the moment. But it's really amazing to see how fast the farmers have adapted to communicating via online platforms like this. So that's also one way that we use to start sharing a lot of information, a lot of technical advice to the farmers. So using the platforms that they are familiar with, that they're interested in, to help them, let's say, get a bit more familiar with new technology. So these are the examples that I could share from our experience. All right, so we have the next question for Rehana. Is there any special scheme of financial support, so credit program in Bangladesh?
Okay, financial scheme for youth, you mean? Hello?
Yes, Rehana, we could hear you.
Okay. Yeah, at this moment, our Ministry of Youth and Sports are offering different loan schemes for youth who are interested in entrepreneurship, especially in the agricultural sector. And also, I know different NGOs who are funding and offering the skill training to capacitate the young entrepreneurs and offer the finance. For example, I can quote the foundation where I'm currently working, or we have a banner of the Youth Assembly who are offering the financial support and also the training skill support for the young entrepreneurs. And there are a lot of INGOs as well of ActionAid, and also the British Council Active Citizen are also offering the financial and the training skills for the young entrepreneurs. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rehana. So let me just quickly go through the list of questions. So there's an interesting question to
Emily, sorry to interrupt, but in this case also there's a participant called Peter van Tel who would like to answer this question live. I think that there is a possibility to do so. So maybe we could give that person the floor.
Yes, sure. NESO team, could you help to provide us access to Peter?
Thank you.
Hi, Peter. Are you with us already? Ah, there you are.
Hi, I'm with you. I'm sorry. I'm forwarding. If I said you answer the question live, the suggestion is to the moderator to put it to the panelists. I wasn't suggesting that I myself would answer the question live. That's sorry. This is the Zoom language. Sorry about.
Okay, great. No problem. Well, at least we know that you're there and that you're actively listening. Thanks.
Absolutely.
So Emily, there you go.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot. All right. So there's one question to all the women in the panel. Most rural areas economically depend on agriculture sector, where women and young girls are often the backbones of farming families. How to make skills and finances also accessible for these young girls in the future? A very interesting question. Marianne, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, sorry, Emily, can you repeat that? Because I was going through the Q&A box, and there was still some questions, but can you repeat it, please?
Sure. So most rural areas economically depend on agriculture sector, where women and young girls are often the backbone of farming families. How to make skills and finances also accessible for these young girls in the future?
Yeah, well, that's another topic, no? Gender equality, women and girls also in agriculture. But I think there should be no difference in treating girls or boys when it comes to involving them in agriculture. So whatever programs that we have for attracting the young people to agriculture should also apply to young girls. No, for example, like in East West, we provide agriculture scholarships, 4-year agriculture scholarships, and surprisingly, we have more number of female scholars than male. So this is really one way of having more, you know, or womanizing the agriculture sector. Thank you.
Thanks, Marianne. Rihanna, what do you think?
Yes, that's a very good questions and match with my current profession also. Because here at WEF Foundation, we offer different skill-based training and also train the young girls and also the rural women who want to contribute and come forward to the agricultural sector. I can give you an successful example. One of our attendees of the Youth Assembly at WEF Foundation from the Coastal Belt, she received the training from us for the entrepreneurship development. And then throughout the microfinance program of the WEF Foundation, we offered them a certain amount as a loan. And then she was able to start her business and become a successful entrepreneur. And this is how gradually, being a rural small girl, she has the access of finance and access of the skill training to capacitate herself and establish her own business. And she has become a role model at her village. So I think this is how, if we connect to other NGOs in those rural areas, they have already that infrastructure to train them, to linkage them with the financing and other skills to make them involved in this sector. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Rihanna. I think I also share the same opinion. I think portraying the image of successful lady entrepreneur working in agriculture is so important, that young girls often look up to a role model. So if you see that other women, especially young women, also have created their career, have been successful in this agriculture industry, it's extremely important that these girls see that and see that as a role model for them to work towards. But interestingly enough, I think in Vietnam, most of the farmers, most of the farms are run by women. So they are really strong women who is being in charge of the business here. So it doesn't have to be someone who is very working in the office in agriculture. It doesn't have to be like a celebrity farmer. It can be someone in the family, someone very close to them that they look up. Marianne, you mentioned earlier that we need to make their parents successful, young people's parents successful, so they know that is their role model to look up to. So showing them successful image of people working in agriculture since the early age will make them part of the journey and will make them consider this for their future. Lisa, how do you think about this?
Yes, I'm so agree with that, Emily. So again, it's very important to raise the awareness of working as agriculture is cool. So, and to have those role models in those industry. And so what we do also in Pippleton is we went to schools to share our story because even now in the 5th grade, they're already studying about SDGs. So we share about what point of SDGs that we already fulfilled. And from there's a lot of questions and they're very curious about our company, about our purpose. And so from just that one specific events that it changed the way the younger thinks about buying products. So again, it's very important to again raise the awareness through just what you said, Emily, having role models, and also to earlier to what we do, what we went to schools to give them to share about our story and the importance of this specific sustainability story. Yeah.
So perhaps one example is for the companies to have like an ambassador program, right? For
yes.
young people to go around to schools and share examples, how it's like, or have open days where you invite people to come and have a female mentor who show them around.
To have guest speakers, yes, to schools to share their story. Yeah, it's very helpful.
Yes, agreed. That would be very nice. All right, we have a question from someone definitely very young. I'm preparing for my future school, and I always hear an opinion that future career for those who study in agriculture will not be good. Since the agriculture is an old-fashioned career, what are the panelists' thoughts? So I think to our young audience, if you have listened up to now, you have heard a lot of examples from our panelists that agriculture is not at all old-fashioned, it's indeed quite tech-savvy, and it's innovative, and there are a lot of cool things happening around it. But to the panelists, is there something else that you would like to share to our young audience?
I think,
sorry,
sure, please.
No, please go ahead. I'll take next.
All right, I think for the young audience, I think it's very important for them to understand the supply chain, how the food produced from the scratch. So when they know the processing and when they know where it comes from, it will build an important awareness for them to know more about the specific sector. So again, it's very important to understand for the young students the supply chain and how the food produced and the source from, and specifically with this specific sustainable issue, it's very important for them to know that information.
Yes, definitely. Short, what do you think?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I can only repeat and support what was just stated about the image of agriculture. I would suggest to experience working in agriculture. There are many possibilities for that, for an internship, for instance. But I can only stress that agriculture is one of the sectors with the highest level of technical implications and the use of digital technologies. So technique and digital technologies for me are a metaphor for the modern situation. So I would suggest to experience working in agriculture. But I mean, I do allow me to address something on the former issue, the role of women and girls in agriculture. Too important to not to react. You can argue for the Netherlands whether women and girls have the same position as men do, But in general, the whole system in the Netherlands is open for everybody. No sex discrimination. But looking at the issue, we suggest that when this very issue is important for a country, and we also would like to then look to international platforms like and positions like youth ambassadors or international platform on agriculture, addressing the role of youth and especially the role of young girls. That's what I would like to add to the former issue. Thank you.
Emily, may I just add something to the about projecting a better image for agriculture? I think we also need communication specialists in agriculture. You know, I was reading in the Q&A that a person would really like to make films or videos about young people in agriculture. I think we really need these communication specialists to produce inspiring stories, good storytellers to make agriculture more attractive to the young people, and use of the social media platform especially. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for sharing. So I think looking at the time, I think we have one final question to ask the panelists. So what do you think is the future of agro-food? How will it look like in 20 and 30 years from now?
This is short. Can I respond first, Emily? Thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you. I think, but I should say, I hope that agriculture will look completely different, because there's a growing orientation on the effects of agriculture regarding climate change, regarding biodiversity loss. And so the way of working we practice now will dramatically change to safeguard these dimensions like biodiversity and climate. On the other hand, not only on production side, but also on consumption side, ideas about food and what it may cost to produce food and to eat food will dramatically change based on the same orientation I just mentioned. And there will be much more situations available to produce food. For instance, now everybody knows that saline conditions could be experienced as a problem, but could also be experienced as an opportunity to produce new food. So from that perspective, I hope that agriculture production food systems will be changed dramatically in 20 or 25 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Short. Lisa, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think from what I've read, there's a potential food gap in 2050. So I think the future of agriculture really depends on us and how we perceive and how we can convey our message to the youngsters. It's because it really depends on us how we can increase food production without expanding agricultural land, and how we can protect and restore natural ecosystem and limit agricultural land shifting. And that's why a sustainable food future therefore requires efforts to those areas to reduce agricultural land shifting, minimize the environmental consequences of inevitable expansions in some countries. So there are specific ways for us to mitigate those issues. Yeah, it really depends on us. But I think from what I see now, especially in Indonesia, there are more and more awareness of those issues. Again, from my role as a company is how, again, to raise the awareness. So for example, we're changing our tagline from, usually we use like beyond good chocolate, because Pipiltin itself is not only chocolate, but we do beyond, because we we're working with community and with all of those parties involved. But now we're changing the tagline into differences. We have to celebrate differences. We have to search for social intents to the society to make a connections again. So just what Mary-Ann said, we really need communication experts to do that, to convey the importance of having young farmers, how to make them see this as an important issue. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Tisha, for sharing. Mary-Ann?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I totally agree with what Jordan and Tisha just said. Agriculture, you know, I think would change in the coming years based on, you know, a lot of factors, but also depending on the speed of how people in the agriculture sector would embrace new technologies. I think like Tisa's always been saying that the millennials, the young people, they will be the ones who will be leading us into a digital agriculture in the future. But I also think that we should look at agriculture as an inclusive endeavor, and also making it more sustainable, and not just look at it on the production side, but I think looking at it from a food system approach. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary-Ann. And maybe a final remark from Rihanna on the future of agri-food.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with the panelist in response to this answer. I would wrap up this as like we need to ensure the collaboration among the regions in agriculture sector, because we can see that digitalization will take place in this sector, and where there will be the gap between the developing countries and the developed countries when it's come to adopting the digital technology. So throughout the collaboration with different stakeholders in the region, I think we can meet up the gap. And also we can introduce the climate smart agriculture and digitalizations. And NAB and also the NOFIC and the Southeast Asia, Netherlands and Bangladesh governments together can ensure that we can offer a better food system to our next generation. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Rihanna. So I think it's coming to the end of the panel discussion. Perhaps just to summarize what we have been discussing so far, I think it's very clear that agriculture is beyond just farming. It's a lot more than that. They involve technology, innovation, and the idea of sustainability is being introduced and being focused on a lot in the last few years by many companies. So it's definitely a lot of room to play, to explore, and a lot of opportunities for young people to enter. So it's not something only for people who study biology, people who are into science or farming, but there really is a lot of disciplines and expertise that we need in agriculture. It's about we need people who knows about law. We need people who know about IT and many other things. So that's why we really strongly encourage the young people to consider agriculture, make it one option, one viable option, reach out to people in the industry who have worked for a few years in agriculture. They can share with you a lot of things about this. And also we want, if it's possible, the institution, educational institution, the government, and anyone who's in the room who has the power to create opportunities for the young, please do so. So we would have the opportunity to attract more young, talented workforce to be in agriculture, because it's so important to our economy. So just to repeat the word of our earlier speakers, people don't like to work in agriculture, but they are interested in working for something socially meaningful. They're interested in making health better. They want to contribute to biological balance in the world. So if you want that, then work in agriculture. That's the sector to be in the future, because the last question you have heard, there's going to be a lot of changes in this sector in the next 20, 30 years, and we need your contribution to make that happen. So thank you very much for the panelists for tuning in, and thank you for your valuable time to joining this 2-hour discussion. So I would like to pass the floor back to Mathilde and Priska. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much, Emily, and the panelists for sharing your thoughts and also presenting us to an inspiring discussion. So now we come to the end of the event. I think for me, it has been a very engaging 2 hours with intriguing panelists and also interesting questions posed by the audience. We started with the keynote speeches from Pak Dedi and Carola Schouten from the government officials of Indonesia and Netherlands, who have inspired us also about the role of youth in agriculture for the growth of the economy, who have also shared the national initiatives on the engagement of youth in the agriculture sector, and how they also encourage us, mainly the students, also to participate in the Changemaker Challenge. So we have also introduced to all of you about the Changemaker Challenge, because we believe students also play a front-runner role in improving the food security and sustainability in Southeast Asia. So we encourage all students in Southeast Asia, including Bangladesh, to also participate in this exciting challenge. So please check out the website, check the criteria, and sign up. Martilla, what do you think about the event? What do you think about the panel discussion, and what can the audience expect next from this campaign?
Yeah, Priska, I think it was a great event. I really enjoyed very much the panel discussion. I mean, so many interesting things were said. Emily, you did a great job facilitating the discussion also. Thank you so much for it. And all panelists, thank you for sharing your experiences and suggestions also. I think that important takeaways for me is that we are already in a big change of the agro-food sector to prepare ourselves for a challenging but future, but also an future that creates like opportunities. And we need the younger generation to help us think on how we can best respond to all these changes. And I thought that there were some like very interesting suggestions made. Many of them were there, and of course I'm not going to repeat them, but I like, for instance, the suggestion to involve youngsters, but also their parents. I think that I thought that was a very interesting suggestion. So there we can already start. Then the other thing is that in educational centers, create like more information about how appealing it is to work for the agro-food sector, and be more proactive, also inviting actors like companies, public sector, education sectors to approach students and engage them in internships so they can really get acquainted with it. Also in the chat, I saw suggestions about making the information about the agro-food sector more appealing, and there definitely we need young people to make TikTok videos, to create like Instagram pictures, to make other type of messages, because, well, I see it already with my own kids of 10 years old. I mean, they grab the phone out of my hand, they do 10 things that I never had imagined that I could do with my phone. So let's involve them and let's have them the floor, let's have them on the table just to make that happen. And not only in the practical part, where the private sector and the public sector can do things, suggestions also on making the policy environment better, more attractive for women, for other young people like to get involved. But also like to think about the spaces where young people can be at the table to make suggestions about future scenarios that we could further develop. I think that this challenge will definitely be one tool to help there, and also all the parties that are related to this this campaign. So just stay in touch, get engaged, and I just wanted to share before we really finish like this event, that on the 26th of June, there will be a regional job fair. So you can check on the website more information about this. Also, one of the suggestions of the panelists of being really very connected, also between the different countries and between the different actors in the countries, that will be very helpful. So such a regional job fair can help there also. And then on the 12th of August, on International Youth Day, there will be the announcement of the winners of the Changemaker Challenge. So yeah, stay connected, participate, and we look forward seeing you in next events.
Thanks. Martilla, I think there's also a small survey before everyone leaves the webinar. Is that correct? Can we show that survey? Ah, there you go. Yes. Host and panelists cannot vote. Oh, I would like to choose agree.
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
But then I will give my own vote. I thought it was a great program, and I really appreciate all the people that participated in it, and also, of course, the people behind the scene that helped to prepare all this in detail. Thank you so much. You really did a great job.
Thank you, everyone.
So I think, Priska, then we can say goodbye to everybody, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. I think after filling in the survey, yes, indeed. So and then you can of course leave the webinar and yeah, keep in touch for the next ones.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you,
so much, and
everyone.
have a
We enjoyed
good rest of your day.
you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. All.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.